Your first option is to source from these sites, like I go over in these tutorials, to your location or house in whatever country you are, if they fit, obviously, for your country, right? And then what you're going to want to do is you have two options. Well, you have three options, really. So you're going to sell back on your local marketplaces. So, for example, like I said, with Extreme Rebate, if you're sourcing from Amazon, like Canada, or you're sourcing from Canada, you can use Extreme Rebate to get, hundreds, if not thousands, depending on how, probably hundreds is more realistic, but hundreds of free products to your door to Canada, which then you can then resell back on your local marketplace, right? So same thing goes with Germany, same thing goes with the UK, obviously, et cetera, depending on whatever, wherever you live. To run with the Amazon Canada example, right? Obviously, there's Canada for eBay, right? So you can sell those products that you get for free back on Amazon Canada, so Amazon Canada on your local marketplace. You can sell them back on eBay Canada, and other countries, depending on where you live. So, for example, other countries have, other marketplaces that are not Amazon or not eBay or other marketplaces like Mercari or Poshmark. So some countries have other marketplaces that are strictly for those countries or that actual region. To give you an example of one of these would be New Zealand has one that's Trade Me, right? So New Zealand doesn't actually have some of these other places, but they have Trade Me specifically for New Zealand. So depending on where you live, you're going to know what marketplace you have to your advantage that you can utilize, right? So if you live in India, for example, there's Amazon India, right? And you might know other marketplaces that are available in your country that you can then sell on. Obviously, depending on where you live in the world, there's so many different examples, there's so many different marketplaces per each country that you're going to know that better than I will, depending on where you live. So those are your three specific examples, right? You could sell it back on your local Amazon marketplace, you could sell it back on your local eBay marketplace, or you could sell it back on your local whatever marketplace, depending on where you live. So source them to your house or location using sites like Extreme Rebate, get it delivered to your door, and then sell it back on your local marketplace, whether that's Amazon, eBay, or wherever for your country. So that's an option number one. You don't ever have to source or sort through, and sell back on the Amazon US marketplace. Now, option number two that I usually recommend to most people is you can utilize US Prep Center instead of a US address. People always ask me, do I have prep centers that I recommend? What I generally recommend, I don't feel comfortable recommending one because they can fluctuate in their price quotes depending on the time of year. If it's Q4 that you're starting, depending on how many different people they're serving at that current time period, if they need more clients, they might quote you a lower price. If they have a lot of clients currently and they're kind of really at that top tier threshold, they might offer you to take you on as a new client if you're, if you want to use them as a prep center, but their quote might be very high. So prep centers can fluctuate in their pricing quotes. They can fluctuate in how helpful they are depending on that time of year. So what I usually recommend is going to Google, Googling US Prep Center or Amazon FBA US Prep Center, if this is the route that you want to go, sort through and find about 5 to 10 of them, contact 5 to 10 of them, don't just contact one or two, contact 5 to 10 of them, get a price quote from all of them, and then see how helpful they are. Then go with the one that looks like, and you're going to outline this on a spreadsheet on Excel or write it all down on a piece of paper, right? You're going to get a price quote. So maybe a few of them say 20 cents per unit. Some of them say 50 cents per unit. And one of them says $1 per unit, et cetera, et cetera. One of them says $2 per unit. Well, what you're going to do is you're going to pick the one that has the cheapest price quote per unit that they give you, but is also the most helpful, right? So if somebody quotes you 20 cents, but is super unhelpful and you don't feel comfortable working for them, that doesn't matter that they gave you a cheap price. Don't go with that prep center. So to recap, I want you to contact about 5 to 10 prep centers by Googling Amazon FBA prep centers in the US, contact about 5 to 10, and go with the one that's the cheapest quote per unit and is the most helpful to you. Go with that one and use them.